So now what's nice is I have this bit of high frequency detail here to help bounce out over the larger, less detailed resting space here of the horizontal bricks, the columns here, and then obviously the high concentration of detail here in the center ornamental piece here. Another thing I'm going to do really quick is just grab Orb's crack brushes. These are by Orb. They're very old, very, very popular brushes. They're really fantastic to use in a pinch. You don't need to use these. I just chose to just kind of use that to just get a jumping off point so I can pull out a Orb crack and then take out the trim smooth border and just kind of use that as a jumping off point to help get a bit of a more deep crack-like fissure. So I don't just drag and then that's it. I use it as a springboard effect and then sort of start chipping in with the trim smooth border form sculpting that I've been doing on all these stones previously. Doing some more horizontal detail work here. And then we're going to just stretch it out just to get a bit of difference in the shape form here. So you can see same shape, but if you just change by squashing and stretching it a bit, it looks like a relatively different piece of detail. So you can go a long way with just one shape and just modifying it a bit. Just inflating to add a bit of thickness there. And doing some small indicating of just small sphere shapes to again add more variety to what this horizontal strip is going to be versus the one up here. I end up just taking this piece out just because it doesn't quite work, um, which is totally okay. I worked on it for a while, but at the end, it's either right or it's wrong, and you just have to work with ultimately just taking it out. When it comes to laying down detail, sometimes it's definitely a less is more kind of approach, and when in doubt, take it out. So now just doing something a little bit more simple, which is just a little bit of variety with the vertical pieces here. So instead of a separate block piece, I'm just doing a little bit of just a little bit of breakup difference in this horizontal strip here. And then of course going back to the trim swing board just to break up these corner edge pieces here. Yeah, these pieces would get a lot of quite a bit of chewing up along the edges just because they're closer to where a bunch of like foot traffic and cart traffic would possibly be, and also just the elements of getting scraped and scuffed would be a lot more vulnerable down close to the ground, and then with these corners sticking out. So definitely something to keep in mind there. And when in doubt, just use the spiral insert mesh and see if it works. Turns out these pieces aren't really working, so I'm gonna just take them out too. Seeing if I can get a little bit more of depth in this centerpiece here, for sake of interest. Also just adding a little bit more detail just so there's not kind of that bit of blank resting space going on in the center there. And just doing a little bit of inflating by hand just to bring out some of that form and take away that very, very thin, kind of raspy look to the form there. I'm going to do a mass curve and just, yeah, get some interesting angles there, but end up not doing that. Bring that down a little bit. So this would be a stone piece that you could say was carved separately by a stonemason, lifted up, and then placed on top of this stone temple wall piece here. Or something where they went in and sort of carved underneath it's a significant enough of an ornamental piece that they left this separate stone slab here out of this piece and carved away underneath to have it fit on top, something like that. In this piece, see there's a little bit of a cavity here where the base plane is still showing through, so I want to take care of that. A good way to keep this mistake from happening is to just paint your base plane in a very bright neon color of some sort to just make sure it's completely covered, like a bright red or green or something like that. Then you can, yeah, just really make sure that everything's covered up. And what I, excuse me, what I want to see is if I can take the radial symmetry and grow a bunch of insert meshes along the pillar as it goes down the side here, just to get a little bit more detail into this right now it's a little bit too plain for me, so I want to see what kind of detail I can implement into this part of the pillar here. So I'm experimenting now to see if I can have these sort of S-curve shapes go down the pillar like so. It's not really working for me, so what I might end up doing is splitting these two pillar pieces so that they're own pieces. That way the symmetry can be focused around the center pillar itself. I'm just going to do activate symmetry, radial, y-axis, do local symmetry. And sometimes you have to turn on solo and kind of change the camera perspective, and then yeah, you get the proper setting there. Then you can see now it's orienting along the center axis here. So now I can put whatever bits of insert mesh detail along the center of the piece here. Just moving them in so they don't stand on top of the piece too blatantly. And also just checking and rotating just to make sure that it's straight up and down like that. And trying again to get a something a bit straighter. Something like that. Get it so it hugs the pillar nicely. And stretch it out there. Then just move it down, and again, just moving it along its axis, just very slightly to make sure that it looks like it's part of the pillar and not just floating on top of it. And focusing on still keeping kind of a nice resting space here, but have it sort of the detail hug the changes in the form going down the pillar to help emphasize the change of the larger primary form shapes. And then once I have that set up, I'm just going to inflate it a bit. And then smooth it out just a little bit. And actually go back just because the smoothness kind of took out that nice beveled look to it. And then move it around to see if it can hug the pillow just a little better, if I can. Then just duplicate it and move it up. And squash it. And see where this guy might fit. And again, having them kind of hug the major form changes there. And in the end, doesn't really work, so going to take it out. Then just duplicating this guy and turning off symmetry and just moving him across. So it can be the same pillar piece over here. And I might modify this original piece just a little bit. And again, if you get this strange artifact, you just have to rotate the camera a bit, and then it'll get back to its regular radial symmetry. So now I'm just inserting some cubes here. And just clicking the x-axis, excuse me, to see if I can get it to move back in and work with the pillar just a little bit better. As it's a piece that's carved off rather than something you like glued on. And just doing turn off smooth, divide, turn on smooth again, just to get a little bit of a bevel there. Yeah, just seeing if I can get sort of a marriage of smaller secondary pieces working with this large primary piece here. And isolating the top there and seeing if I can inflate and get a even smaller bit of detail going there. So again, every piece of detail should help emphasize the detail that came before it or that it's lying on top of. Just clipping the top so it doesn't have that strange sort of soft top form change there. Then moving this down to see, or kind of squashing and stretching it to see how this will help emphasize or sort of marry the bottom support piece with this top piece of the column here. Just getting rid of that decorative piece there. See if this will work better. And then again, giving it the trim smooth border treatment to help take out this very, very harsh 90-degree angle form change going on up here. Trying a negative inflate, but that makes the mesh sort of collapse into itself in a really in a really bad raspy way. So definitely not going to do that, but going to do a bit of a scale to see if I can sort of pinch this in. So again, we don't have that 90-degree angle flat top thing going there. And trying the same inflate technique on the bottom. Get something a little more uniform just so there's sort of a nice horizontal form change that goes here and then as well as here. So something like that. And squashing it back down just a little bit to help emphasize the pillar there. And I'm just going to duplicate and just move the whole thing over here so I don't have to do it twice. And so I'm just merging the two pieces together here, just so I can then redynamesh and take away this very harsh sort of intersection line that's going on here. So I'll be doing that with all these pieces here just to take out any indication of this is a mesh clipping into another mesh, but rather this is a single piece of stone that was carved in. The peaks and valleys were carved in by hand. Just doing a little more trim smooth border chewing up here. And in this case, with a bit of fade, it might actually work kind of nicely with the uh, sort of a nice sort of organic concave scooping out of this piece right here just to get a little bit of detail along the bottom. Same with here too. Same it up here too, is to take away that very mechanical looking cut there. Same with that too, so you have that nice kind of like ribbed feeling going there. Then just doing it inverted to see if that works as well. Yeah, having a column with radial detail or a radial bit of symmetry, you can get a lot of crazy looking detail and almost instantaneously, which is really cool. With very, very simple shapes. This is just the cube shape pretty much getting carved out here. And the bit of fade adds to the kind of nice sort of circular concave effect that we're getting there. Again, going back, doing a couple little slashes with the orb slash. So if you go to Orb's channel on ArtStation, I believe he's selling these orb brushes, or he has these orb brushes available in his Gumroad and his ArtStation page. And I think Orb is his name on Instagram too, so you can hunt him down and get your hand on that brush, no problem. It's pretty easy to find. So really quick here, doing the clay, doing the spray, and doing this little speckle brush alpha. Then doing a Z sub of about 5 and just lightly going over with a relatively high poly count and painting in some of the detail there.